Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 556. Can the Detroit Lions close it out? This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, Jeff Le Risdon. How you doing, my man?
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Happy Festivus. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever other holidays there might be out there that I'm not aware of. I hope you all are enjoying it. I hope you all are enjoying the Lions being in first place, clinching the playoffs already, just rolling forward.
It is fantastical times here in Detroit land. Jesus M. Lions 35, Niners 20. We'll just start right there. Love it. In the chat, also WM2. Hey, good to see you back, FTV. I got a good show today. We're going to do our warm-ups like we normally do. We got a Bears game recap. We're going to go over the playoff status of the Lions and some certain scenarios. Also do some updates on injuries and the injury status. And also a preview of the game against the 49ers. Jesus may have had it on the head already, but there's a lot to talk about. Riz, you ready to go, my man?
Let's do it! Yeah!
Yay. Yeah! I forgot to fix the thing. All right, let's get right into it.
All right.
The little bumper doesn't work anymore, damn it. Okay, let's talk about it. We got a lot of stuff out there. Hey, guys, Frosty Cakes. How you doing, Frosty? Good to see you.
I've been fighting a cold, so bear with me if I'm sneezing or coughing or sputuming things up.
I'll have a sniffle every now and then. Same thing. We had a close evening, and now look what happened. All right, let's talk about warm-ups. We'll get into it as everyone gathers. Bridge over stumblebum waters. And let's talk about it. First off, Teddy Bridgewater back with the team. Love this guy's role. Teddy, number one, as Jared said, it's great to have ourselves a state champion in the house to help out. I mean, took his high school.
His games weren't even close.
Yeah,
like they blew people away. I think they won 64-14 in their semifinal or something like that. It's just an ungodly number. Congrats to Teddy, and they talked about it. This is kind of in the plans like the whole time.
Yeah,
or at least for a while.
Yeah,
if this wasn't something where like Teddy's like calls Brad Holmes on a Thursday afternoon, like, hey, I just won the state title, come sign, I'm ready to play quarterback again. Like they've been dealing with this for a long time. It sounds like from what Dan said in the press conference and what Hendon has said.
Yeah.
Because Hendon, I knew the whole time that he was coming back. Like, I'm not stressed by this, which is, I think, assuages some of our fears. We probably need to get that out of the way, Chris. Dan Campbell said it. He meant it. This is not an indictment of Hendon Hooker.
Correct.
Period. End of story. If you're trying to go down that road, stop, because you're going to crash into a dead end.
Because Teddy has two roles.
This is about Teddy being an experienced backup who has some playoff experience. He understands how to fit in the game. I'm more comfortable putting Teddy Bridgewater in if something happens to Jared Goff than I am putting Hendon Hooker in, and I might be Hooker's biggest advocate.
Yeah.
It's just he's not there yet. We've seen what Teddy can do, provided that his shoulder's okay. That's the big thing. But
and Teddy brings in. He's a coach in the locker room, and it's this.
Yes.
This is one of the things that the Lions have done really, really well. The other teams have, I think, tried to emulate but haven't been able to. Is that you almost think of it historically as there's two tiers. There's the players and there's the coaches, and there's a gap between them. And what the Lions have really done is blurred those lines with all the former player coaches. Those coaches have a sense of who the players are, what drives them, what they're thinking. They have a real sense of the players themselves. And then the players bringing in guys like Teddy Bridgewater and some of the other guys, how they are. Well, Teddy's a high school state champion coach, right? I mean, but how you bring like player coaches in as well to help coach these people up. And we've seen it with Amon-Ra, how he's worked and taken J-Mo a little bit under his shoulder with some of the stuff they've worked on with him. But across the board, the players and coaches, that line has really, really blurred. And this is one of those things where in the locker room, you've brought in a coach's mindset into the game. And it's going to work out great for Teddy, because he is absolutely going to be a coach at the highest level. Maybe a head coach one day. We'll see how that plays out for him. But he has the right attitude and the right mindset to really drive a team forward. So it is really, really, I really am happy with having it in here. When we got him the first time, I was like, okay, that's weird. I don't get it. It all clicks now. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, no, it makes sense.
The first time they got him, it's like, oh my God, we've suffered through Nate Sudfeld and Tim Boyle, and they're both awful. Like, we got to find somebody with a healthy body who might be able to be better than them, and that was Teddy. And now this is a lot different this time around. We have a good young backup who's growing into the role, but this is insurance, and like you said, the concept of him coming back in and mentoring Hendon Hooker and working with Jared Goff and being a more seasoned and experienced sounding board and doing things with Mark Brunell and JT Barrett, who's a rising star as a coach that you're going to hear a lot more about in the coming weeks. It's just a great fit, and it's so nice to have him back.
Yeah. All right, so Teddy Bridgewater back in the office, in the booth, in the room, doing his thing. Good to have him. Now the stumblebum. We've got to talk about this outside of the coverage of the Bears, because we'll talk about the play design first, because this is the level of thinking. Like, this is almost a throwaway play. It's a trick play, right? You may run it, like in this one, it was specifically designed for the Bears, so it's one that we want to run if we can, right? And we'll see. But it's a throwaway. It's not necessarily going to be called out during the game. And the level of detail to how this play was architected was absolutely fantastic. Where Gibbs stumbles, Goff stumbles, the offensive linemen are yelling fumble. The coaches on the sideline are yelling fumble, right? Everybody's play acting as part of this play to sell it to the nth degree, right? I mean, and this is where something like this can easily fail. If people can sniff it out, you blow a play like that up big time, right? And then it's really ugly and you look like an idiot, right? What a dumb play. Who would run that, right? That kind of a thing. This was sold at every level. And to think about it, when you think about memorizing a playbook as a player, to memorize not just your blocking and everything else in something like this, but all the other articulates. You got to yell fumble. I want to hear it. You have to be loud. Like, all of that, to have that articulated down to that nth degree of detail and to be able to pull it off like that, that's absolutely fantastic for a one-time play, maybe, right? Yeah. I love it. Absolutely love that they pulled that out.
And by the way, it was an opponent-specific one, because they were specifically doing that to take advantage of the Bears and their over-pursuing style of veteran linebacker play. Yep. Like, that's a play that's designed to get the linebackers off of Sam Laporta. And that's exactly what happened.
I will say, too, there was some people, I've seen people come out and articulate why it wasn't dumb to use this play, waste a play in a game that you already won, was one of the things. And it was, and I've heard people articulate, it is for, specifically for that opponent, that kind of thing. But here's what I think people are missing in the bigger scheme of things, right? When you're preparing for a team and you watch their plays, you see the same set of plays and you start to think of which ones are they going to run against us? How do we scheme against this offense, right? You have all that work to do with the Detroit Lions, but every single game they're throwing a hook and ladder, the stumble bum. They're throwing all these crazy trick plays that give you this whole playbook, and then these one-offs that you now have to prepare for every single one of them as well. And it really starts to scatter your ability, because when you have to focus on a play like that, you have to spend reps in practice focusing on one specific play that you may never see versus the plays you'll see at some point. It's really, I think, a smart move to be using these this way, especially when you have that kind of creativity to design these things and the ability of the team to execute on these things in that locker room.
Yeah. And the attention to detail that the Lions pay to these gadget plays, trick plays, whatever you want to call them, specials is what Ben Johnson calls them. It's so finite and precise. It's if you're playing defense against them, let's say you're the Minnesota Vikings, who have a very like they are a team, to jump way ahead. They are a team that has to dictate to the offense what the offense can and can't do to them. Otherwise, they're not very good.
Yep.
You can't do that when you don't know what's going to happen on any specific snap out of any. The Lions run these plays out of their basic alignments. They can run them at any time. They have shown with Dan Campbell and his balls in a sleigh that he will run them from anywhere. 4th and 8 from his own 10. That's right. We're going, baby.
A little slow, sorry.
And that's something like if you're playing defense, because like you gotta consider the fact that nobody expects a Spanish Inquisition. Like it could happen at any time.
And this is one of the things, I think one of the reasons that, inside the building, they feel pretty confident about Minnesota. And from what I've heard, I don't want to say they figured it out. Of course I'm nervous about playing Minnesota at the end of this season. We'll talk about what this looks like.
Nervous about their offense for sure.
Yeah.
They got dudes, man.
But the confidence that they have assuages a lot of that fear for me. The Bills game, you heard me, and I just had it in my head that we were going to have trouble with that game there. And I'm not sure necessarily. I mean, we wanted to win, but I don't think we showed everything against the Bills, and because we may meet them at a very crucial time. And I think that's a little bit of what we saw in that game. We got
very bland on defense in that game. And I wonder how deliberate that was.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Some of it was obviously injury related, and we're healthier now, thankfully. But yeah, there was a lot of. Well, normally we'd blitz here, or normally like we're not playing a quarters a zone here. We're gonna do cover 2 or Tampa 2 or something, and it was just very very vanilla. Mm-hmm. And you wonder if Aaron Glenn was saving that card for later.
Yeah, and how much of it was injuries as well. So
yeah.
Seth Ryan, Steve Oliver, JT Barrett get credit from Ben Johnson as being the mad scientists in the front office and the coaching staff that are coming up with these plays. They're doing so much prep work for these teams ahead of the day. I mean, Decker talks about how little sleep they get and how tired they are. Well, but they kind of never let on just how tired. I can say, talking to people, these people work so many hours you wouldn't even believe that. And these are guys, most people don't even know they exist on the team. You know what I mean? I mean, the majority of people don't even know these people are even. You hear the name, they'd stumble on them in a restaurant, wouldn't even know who they were.
Seth Ryan, is that Rex's son? It is. JT Barrett, didn't he play quarterback? Yeah, he was the quarterback for the Buckeyes. Played in the UFL for a little bit. He's been coaching for a while now.
Yeah, Steve Oliver, since an assistant coach to Hank Fraley for the O-line, does a lot of work with the install there. We'll see what happens. There's these guys. These are smart guys, and I saw in the chat someone asking, "Hey, are these guys? Is there somehow possibility for them to be coaches?" I think that's 100% part of what the Lions are doing. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, we've heard the story there, and you hear so much more at the coordinator level and the head coach level about this stuff, unless as you kind of go down the ranks, if you will, of the coaching staff. But they have a meeting every week about, and it's all about bringing AG and Ben Johnson up to get them ready to head coach, truly preparing them to move on to their next job, which sounds anathema, but there's the old saying, what happens if I train people and they leave? And it's like, well, what happens if you don't train them and they stay, right? I mean, then you wind up with, what do you get, right? So what are we doing? We're running all these guys.
You wind up with Congress is what you wind up with.
We continue to build these guys and gals into the best version of themselves that they can be for the Detroit Lions, and hopefully for themselves as well. And what you wind up with is then the ability to backfill from within, and for people to want to come. And we've said this before, the Detroit Lions very quickly became a destination team. And as you see now, from players to coaches to whatever else, the Detroit Lions are absolutely a destination that people want to come, because they recognize when this team finally puts it all together and pulls that win out, it's going to be absolutely off the hook.
And they have been grooming Scotty Montgomery the the assistant head coach. He's going to get some head coaching interviews this offseason too. We'll see where it goes with that, how many openings there are and everything. Like you and I have talked about this, Chris. I expect AG is going to be gone. I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, who knows? Scotty, who knows? But they've been prepping these guys. I know JT Barrett is a rising star. We know Kelvin Shepard is a rising star. He's going to get a chance to be a coordinator somewhere, wherever he wants to be, basically, whether it's Detroit or wherever if AG goes and takes him with him, which could happen.
Yep.
And if that happens, the Lions will find guys to fill in those roles.
Yep.
And based on how well this group has identified coaching candidates from before, I mean, Ben Johnson was here as a tight ends coach, but nobody thought that he was this, pending offensive guru.
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, he played. That's nice. He's been an assistant for a while, never really did a lot. And they found guys who can grow into those roles. Hank Fraley wasn't all that known. Kelvin Shepard was a quality control coach for the Bills, I want to say. Like they've identified people that they know have coaching potential and upside, just as they do with players. And they are working and developing on that. So the sky doesn't fall, even if Ben leaves and AG leaves. And they could.
Yeah.
We'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. But I wouldn't stress about it. I mean, yeah, it'll be different. Different doesn't necessarily mean worse.
Well, and it's if you think about it, like at the end of last season, after that heartbreaking loss to the Niners, there was a lot of talk about, coach said, it's so hard. I don't know if we'll get back here next year. Right. I don't know. And then this year comes and they've outperformed expectations already. Right. It's fantastic. Now it's a tough league and other teams have records that have outperformed expectations as well, which kind of make it this pinch at the end of the season you wouldn't expect after performing this well. But that's okay. Right. That's the nature of the game. That's the way it works out. But if it doesn't happen this year and those coaches, or even if we do and those coaches go, I think there's going to be a lot of heartbreak about the change as well. But this is a team that has prepared for it, that has managed its personnel and how they hire, who they know, just like they manage the players. Brad Holmes is a guy that really does see the entire chessboard. And I'll say it 3D because it's not just the player, it's the pro personnel, it's the front office kind of personnel. Those are all kind of different boards, you know what I mean? And he's playing chess on all those boards at the same time. That Spielman, I'm having a real hard time. I'm cloudy. The sick is still there. Spielman has some time in his ear as well. I mean, there's a lot of work going on with these guys that are continuing to play and work this out. And it just, they're so smart about how they do it and who they bring in, how they're going to fit, that I just, again, as with the draft, I'm not worried about who they're going to pull in the coaching staff. I would love AG and Ben to be here and do exactly what we're doing forever. That would be wild. But how would we know that Ben Johnson is this genius that he is had he not come from tight ends coach behind Aylin, who everyone would have thought was the guy at that time, right? The things you learn and how things are, it's interesting and it's something to evolve. And I have to say, this is a different Lions team than it was 4 years ago. You just have to kind of sit back and trust these fellas running this show because and ladies, because they know what they're doing. They've proven it, and they may make an error along the way. And I guess you could be critical of that. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want perfection, and you want, most of the stuff you don't know really till well after the fact. But we've got the results in the record right now from what these guys are doing, and the absolute right trajectory over the course of their entire tenure. So we'll keep going. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it. I feel bad about.
I'm not concerned about it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. At the same time, though, I'm also I'm kind of excited for them, especially AG.
Yeah.
AG has taken, and it's not just in Detroit. He took some crap when he was in New Orleans too.
Yeah.
I think he's proven beyond any reasonable doubt that he's an exceptional coach. Doing what he's doing this year. Look, I know they give up a crap ton of passing yards, but they're still getting pressures. he's still finding ways to pressure the quarterback. He's still finding ways to get off the field on third downs and out of the red zone, giving up field goals instead of touchdowns.
Yeah.
They're doing a really good job at that, and that's not been easy with all the injuries and all the comings and goings. They got rid of Quan Alexander and David Long this week.
Yeah,
those two started games in December.
And Quan looked better than. Wow. I mean, I was impressed with Quan and what he did in his time, and just like pick up, jump on the field, start. And I was like, wow, how do we keep finding these guys?
He was signed on Sunday, and they played him the Sunday after Thanksgiving was when he signed. And he started the next week. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Didn't he get a sack?
And that's a guy.
He got a couple. I mean, again, Quan Alexander probably not going into the Hall of Fame, right? But his performance in the Lions.
He bought him 3 weeks. That's all they needed.
Yeah.
And we're going to get Jerm back. We're going to get Anzalone back, not this week, but sometime soon.
If they win it all, does he get a ring?
I hope so.
I hope so,
man. I'm
getting ahead of myself a little bit. I get ahead of myself a little bit, but I'm like, this is probably going to be one of the most expensive ring purchases for a team if the Lions go all the way because of so many guys.
Hell yeah, man. David Long gets one. He provided a lot of energy. Ezekiel Turner, who will be the next guy out the door, he gets a ring. He was fantastic against Green Bay. He's been god-awful ever since, but he played really well that one game. One game.
Yeah. Hey, unsubstantiated Keitho, and I don't mean to undermine you at all. I'm reading it because you got it there, right? But we don't have any other sources or anything. This is straight from the YouTube chat, so take it for what it is. But Hutch's dad told my mom at work at the hospital in Harbor Beach he should be back by the NFC Championship game. Would love it. Would absolutely love it. But like I said, not to knock on you, Keitho, but I don't know you. So there we go. Would love that.
As Dr. Liao has said in his videos and in his work with Lions Wire, it's plausible that he will be back for that early. It's much more possible that he'll be back for this Super Bowl. We'll see. Yeah. I hope we have to find out, honestly.
100%.
That's the goal.
All right, let's what else about the Bears game? Let's talk a little bit about it. First off, I'd like to talk about Joe Gibbs and his 100-yard rushing game. Carrying the team, 4.7 yard average. My guy, the spin move, right? I mean, the full blown Madden roll. What a game! And for look, I'm not going to undercut what Monty is and what he brings to this team. So don't think that I'm doing that. You can do that. You can say this without undercutting another one. But oh my God, Joe Gibbs being able to carry the load like he did, just teams would kill to have Jahmyr Gibbs as their single running back, right? And then they would kill to have Montgomery as their single running back. And we got both of them, man. And to see that either one can carry a load and churn out a 100-yard game and play with this skill and power combination, Sonic and Knuckles, man, what a combo. But Joe Gibbs was the guy this week against the Bears. Congratulations, Jahmyr. Very, very well done. Really, really love the game that he played, man.
He got 20 touches in the first half of that game. There's your workhorse right there. Your bell cow back. Man. Proved that he can do it. Bears, by the way, still their defense is not bad. If you God help you if you watched their game the other night. What was it? Was it 6-3? I didn't watch. I didn't pay any attention to it. But we did. My in-law Christmas was yesterday. My wife's brother is a diehard Chicago Bears fan, even though he's from Detroit. It's weird.
Sick, man.
I'm just like, so Bob, did you watch that game? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, okay, I get it.
Oh man!
But, I mean, the Bears they almost shut out the Seahawks and still wound up losing. That's the Bears for you.
Yeah.
No sympathy for the Bears.
Also, I want to shout out somebody else who hasn't gotten a lot of love over the years, but he's managed to hold on. Jamar Jefferson. I'll never forget at camp watching him work that sled and Deuce just on him, and the running back room just cheering. He was dying. He threw up. He was throwing up in the end zone afterward. But he put in the work. Did. Yeah. And he's a guy, I love his heart. I love that he's holding on. I would love to see him make that break, that next level jump. But he got out there. He got some carries, 4.3 yards per carry. Good for him. Jamar Jefferson. Good to see him make the field, man.
Yeah. And the fact that he has stayed with it for so long, when this team has told him that you're not good enough to be on this roster. And he kept fighting and kept clawing at it. Like, it would have been very easy for him to be like, you know what? My agent's going to ask for a release. Can you give it to me so I can try to find somewhere else to go? That's not what Jamar did. And God bless him, man, because he has worked. One of the reasons why he struggled so much is that his pass protection skills were that of a, like, 6th grade girl. Like, he just was lost in pass protection. It was rough, man. It was really bad. And he has really worked very hard to get a lot better at that and also be a lot better on special teams so he can be useful as the number 4 running back when he comes in, or number 3 running back. And it's a testament to him for sticking with it and not giving up, for believing in himself and believing that he can still do it in Detroit. Because you see, like, he's the kind of guy who winds up being on, like, 8 practice squads and 4 53-man rosters in 2 years. Like, that's sort of where his career trajectory was. But he stayed, man. Yeah. That's impressive. Good for you, Jamar.
WMW2 shows up with your family member, your Bears family member. Poor guy got caught up in the Super Bowl shuffle and never escaped.
That's exactly right. So he's 53. So yeah, that would be about the right time.
That's hilarious. Oh man. So yeah,
they did live in Chicago for a while too, but
there you go. That happens. Also, I've got to give a shout out to JMO. He made it first off on the St. Brown Brothers podcast. So good for you, JMO. Good to see you do that. He's an enigma. He is a different kind of cat. It's one of those things. If he played hockey, I feel like he'd be a goaltender. You know what I mean? He's just got a different mindset than most folks. And I'm not saying that in a bad way at all, right? So to understand that he's just different, right? He's just a different, he's a different cat. And the 143-yard game, he doubled Amon-Ra's yards as the number 2 in this game. He became the number 1, had some really nice quality catches. The stuff with Stevenson early, I told my wife, I said, they're going to go deep. They're going to go deep with him. They're going to, you saw Coach yelling at him. I'm like, that's how they're going to rebuild him again. They're going to have him go over top on Stevenson. And he had a first down and distance between him and Stevenson when he caught that ball, man. And it was, you want to take the wind out of a cornerback sails. And a guy that's talking a bunch of stuff, that's exactly how you do it, how you shut him down. I want to this performance against the Bears. I mean, we can talk about this game. I feel like it completely broke them. I mean, Sandman said it. The Bears went full tank in this last game. They're broken. It's over. They have nothing to live for anymore, and they're just crashing the ship into the shore to get off and abandon as fast as they can.
They were 4-2, Chris. They're going to wind up 4-13. That's hard to do. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I almost feel sorry for him. Almost.
Yeah.
If we hadn't have heard all offseason about how they were going to be our primary challengers, I'd feel a little bit more sympathy.
Yeah. So there you go. Detroit Lions, they 34-17 took over the Bears. The Bears, who had scored no points in the first half for like 100 games and then scored all their points in the second half, they put up 14 in the second, which was made me a little nervous. I mean, we were still up by 13 because we had scored in the first and we matched them in the second, but I was worried about what is the second going to happen. Are we going to have this third quarter? Bears put up 3 more, and that was it. And we were able to take that game and shut it down.
You know what? Give them some credit. I thought that was Caleb Williams' best game of his career. He obviously didn't follow it up with anything, but the touchdown pass to Keenan Allen, like that was the education of Terry and Arnold right there. Like you can't slip on that. If he had no chance to be there. Yep. And as the over the top help and coverage, it happened too fast. That's a play that Terrion's going to learn from, and hopefully Iffy learns from it, and hopefully Aaron Glenn learns from it. Like, maybe we can't leave this guy on that wide of an island against a savvy veteran receiver like Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
You're going to be playing dudes like that going forward. So that's, it was not Terrion's best game. I thought he did some things very well. It was great getting Iffy back out there. He was two of the first three plays he blitzed and was in the backfield like before the Bears realized, oh crap,
he's on the field. He's
supposed to be blocking him.
And it's funny because there's not a lot of tape on him. Like there's very little to look at about Iffy to find out what you have or how he's developed even in his time here. So he becomes a little bit of a wrinkle for the Lions as well. So that's good to see.
You shoot him forward, he's really freaking good.
Yeah.
I loved how they used him. They didn't ask. There was one rep where they asked him to be the single high safety. They dropped Branch down in because Cole Kmet flexed out and they wanted him in the slot. And you could see Iffy like, for the love of God, run the ball. For the love of God. Like, you could see it in his mannerisms on the film. Like, he's creeping forward like I don't want this. And it wound up working out okay, but it was very nice to have him back.
Yeah.
He's the sort of impactful, fresh legs that can impact your pass rush going down the stretch. He's somebody different. They played him all over the place. He played some linebacker. He played a couple of reps in the slot as the heavy slot. It brings options back that they haven't had on defense in some time. Giving Trevor Nowaski back. Nowaski played great against Chicago. I don't care what PFF says. I watched that dude. He played well.
Yep.
It was nice getting guys back.
Let me ask you about this. There's the rumor. So there's also a lot of Ben Johnson talk for the Bears, right? The Bears fans are convinced. As Rick is saying in the chat, of course. I've heard a lot of talk also about Pete Carroll as a potential. I love Pete Carroll in Chicago. I really, really do, because that organization is so absolutely inept. He's not going to be able to fix it. He's going to be a victim. I really think that they're going to get a high and feel really, really strong about it. But then it's like what did they start 4-2? You said, and then they're going to do a 4-13. Yeah. It's that kind of a thing that I think we'll see coming out of a Pete Carroll tenure there. I have a lot more concern about a Ben Johnson going there, but then again, it would be his first head coaching position, and God, I don't know if you want to be first timer in Chicago, man, because again, that org is a mess
situation, man. Yeah, and their offensive line's a mess. Their top to bottom organizational structure is a mess.
Yeah.
Do you want Ryan Poles to be the guy who hires you and he's gone in a year if you're 7-11 or 6-11? I can't do math, and that's a very realistic possibility. Pete Carroll would be I would love for them to not go down the retread thing. Mm-hmm. The thing with Pete Carroll, he's 73 years old.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't look it, and the way he attacks chewing gum is, with an enthusiasm unknown to man. But he's in incredible physical shape. But he's 73. Like, you're getting to the point. Like, okay, what's our long-term plan here? Like, this guy, he's geriatric getting there.
Yeah.
The guy that gets mentioned a lot, and it happens in Chicago a lot, is Cliff Kingsbury, who's the offensive coordinator for the Commanders right now.
Yep. Former
head coach, has worked with Caleb Williams at USC. There's a lot of people in Chicago that are making that connection because I think they have sort of seen that maybe Ben Johnson isn't going to be looking for us. We might be looking for him, but he might not want us.
Yeah.
And Kingsbury, with his pedigree, with his chip of vengeance that he wants to play, he felt like he got wronged in Arizona for whatever reason.
Yeah. Having coached another Chicago team already, right?
That's right.
Going back to what, 1917?
Yes. Yes. So yeah, there's Ben Johnson is not the only candidate who's getting run in Chicago right now. I can tell you that I spent some time in Chicago last week. Today's Saturday, right? It's been over a week. I went to Green Bay to watch my son's Michigan Tech Huskies basketball team upset Doug Gottlieb and the Green Bay Phoenix, and that was incredible. I also got to tour Lambeau Field. I got the behind-the-scenes tour of where all the NFL draft stuff is going to be. It's going to be really, really cool. I know we don't like to talk positives about Green Bay, but I'm going to tell you, y'all want to get there for this. This is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
The way that they're going to set it up and everything, and getting some Michigan pride on
To get
Huskies, baby. That was so much fun. That was so much fun.
To get a stoner's perspective here, John Gruden to the Bears, LOL. I don't know. I feel like John Gruden might be one of the guys that has the most upside. Now, it could be an absolute tire fire in a dumpster on an oil freighter.
I hadn't even thought about Gruden. That's an interesting one.
But I think
he likes being where he's at.
High risk, high reward. That's where Gruden's at. And he's one of the few guys I think that could actually turn that franchise around and fix stuff there. But he could actually.
They need
make
somebody
it really
with presence. You know, we talk. One of the reasons why Dan Campbell is so successful here is because he has presence and gravitas, testicular fortitude. There's when he says something, people pay heed to it. He's got leadership. Yeah. Look at Matt Eberflus. That's not who he was. Look at the people they've hired, like Mark Trestman back in the day for Chicago. Yeah, all these guys are like, nah. Like, where's the personality? Where's the fire? Lovie Smith, who I happen to like a lot. I know Lovie personally. Like, that's not who he is either. Like, and he was fairly successful because he at least had some pelts on the wall. Like, he's like, yeah, man, that was my defense that won a Super Bowl back in the day with the Rams. But they have been so afraid to hire anybody like Mike Ditka since they hired Mike Ditka, and they need a Mike Ditka.
Yeah.
Gruden would be that. That would be
this is why Gruden is actually the one that I worry about the most. Highest ceiling and maybe the lowest floor too.
Yeah. I mean, Pete Carroll offers that, but again, he's 73 years old. Like, who's he hiring as his offensive coordinator? Because that's going to be your coach in 2 years. You know?
A guy that's 73, if things start going off the rails and like he's a guy that can at some point realize it and say, fine, I'm just going to collect my check for the rest of the time and then I'm retired, right? Because he knows this is his last gig. He's not going to invest. If they aren't invested and it's just gone south, he'll ride it out. He will ride it out like the team's doing right now. He's a perfect fit for Chicago. There you go. There you go. All right. So there it is. There's the Chicago Bears game review. Good go on the Lions. Let's get into the Lions playoff status and scenarios. These things are interesting. I mean, we could have been talking about this when the Lions clinched their spot a couple weeks ago, but I don't think there was so much calculus involved that it wasn't worth talking about. And we're at a point now where it gets down to some. I mean,
pretty simple. Yeah,
it's between three, right? It's the Vikings, the Lions, and the Eagles. Or the three players for the number one
can't
seed.
Be one.
Yes, they can.
The Eagles can't be one anymore because they lost. They do not have the tiebreaker with either Minnesota or Philadelphia. And because one of Detroit and Minnesota will be equal with them in wins, because one of them has to win the last week, so Philadelphia is the number 2 seed.
Yes, yes.
And by the way, they're playing without Jalen Hurts for this week. He's got a concussion, so they could conceivably lose again. It doesn't really matter. They are the 2 seed.
Yeah. There's one chance for the Lions to get the 2 seed. Okay. If they lose to the 49ers, tie the Vikings, and the Eagles win out, then they get the 2 seed.
And the Vikings would have to lose to the Packers too.
No, they have to win out. Eagles have to win out for us to get the 2.
Yeah, but the Packers would have to beat the Vikings because they would have to have more wins than Minnesota and Detroit. So yeah, technically a tie could probably do it. Yeah. Do you see either Dan Campbell or Kevin O'Connell either one of them playing for a tie?
No. No, that ain't gonna happen. One win. One win and one loss. Thank you, Jay-Z. One win for the Lions and one Minnesota loss. It's the number 1 seed. That's it. So let's talk through it. Number 1 seed happens in these scenarios.
That's right.
Lions beat the 49ers. Packers beat the Vikings. The outcome of the Lions-Vikings team doesn't matter.
It means nothing.
Riz, do we want
the elections in Mauritania?
Do we want the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings to be playing for it all in the final week?
No.
Right. All right. Lions beat the Vikings. That's another chance. That's the other set for us to get with the first seed, no matter what else happens.
The Lions can lose to San Francisco.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if they beat Minnesota. Then if they beat Minnesota, the loss doesn't matter because they're still the division champs.
Right. So, and then there's another weird one where if the Lions, they can beat the 49ers and tie the Vikings, they can lose the 49ers, but the Vikings lose the Packers, and we tie the Vikings, the Eagles lose a game, blah, 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 blah. There you get the calculus stuff. There's the number. Number 2 seed was strictly if the Lions lose to the Niners, the Vikings lose to the Packers, and we tie. Then, and the win the final 2 games. Then we get the number 2 seed. Number 5 seed. Vikings beat the Packers, Lions lose out both or lose to the Niners and tie the Vikings.
Yeah, we're basically, the long and the short of it is we will be the 1 seed and get a bye, or we will be the 5 seed and travel to either Atlanta, Tampa Bay, the South winner, or if the Rams lose out and the NFC South winner wins out, we will be going to play the Rams in Los Angeles in the first round, the wild card round. That's pretty much the only way it can be. Again, ties do throw a lot of weird variables in, but nobody's getting a tie.
Yeah.
As I say that now, like I think Cleveland plays that they'll get a tie today.
Just a James Houston memorial horn.
By the way, he's inactive every week. I don't think he'll be back in Cleveland.
This is a really interesting one. Refs and the Vikings will beat the Packers. So look, NFL is registered as an entertainment corporation, not a sports corporation. Everyone knows that. This would be the absolute WWE or whatever it is now. I don't pay attention to wrestling. Sorry. Version of the NFL. And I don't want to get conspiratorial up front. It is fun. I've told you some of the games we play. It's a fun place to play in, right? But I don't want to get there. But boy, if the Packers lose on some really wonky BSy officiating, I'm going to be a hard person to convince that the fix wasn't in because the NFL wanted the final game of the season that Sunday night to be the Lions and the Vikings for all the marbles, because that's their perfect story to get the ratings they want till the end of the year, especially after this crap show that was the Bears and Seahawks game just yesterday. So,
on that front, on Week 18, we will learn at halftime of this week's Sunday night football game what game is getting flexed to the night game in Week 18. If it's the Lions and Vikings and that means something, that will be the game. If it's not, it will probably be whoever Atlanta and they are playing. I don't have that off the top of my head. Yeah. But they're going to have a game that means something for a division or serious playoff implications. I don't know. I don't want that game at night because then you're risking the potential that you played Sunday night and you've got to play the next Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
If you're the loser, like I don't like that at all.
No.
I hope they wouldn't do that.
Though, to be fair, I would love. I don't want to play. It's not.
I don't like night games to begin with. Like
I don't want to play Minnesota or Green Bay in the playoffs just because we've played them 2 games already this season. We play them twice a year already. I don't like divisional games in the playoffs so much. I mean, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of fuel behind those games. You know what I mean? Especially if it was the Packers that we were playing, because after that last game, their fans are just entitled town.
Well, they will tell you that they're the better team both games. But
yeah.
That team didn't win. Okay.
Okay. Man.
The stripper loves you too, Duddy. Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep on believing that.
So there we go. There's the scenarios for the playoffs. The mindset, I can tell you Campbell's mindset and the rest of the team's mindset is we just win. It's not that they aren't watching everybody else. If you listen to our post-game show, you saw it live when they're interviewing Dan Campbell. You could hear the team cheer at the Eagles, the end of the Eagles game and their loss. It's right there with them. But it's not that they're not paying attention, but they also recognize what they own and what they're responsible for, and that's what they're driving.
Yep.
All right, let's get on playoff status and scenarios. Let's hope we get the opportunity for the Lions playoff status being a week 1 bye. Let's talk about the Lions injury status and updates. And Riz, I'm going to give you the microphone here because I kind of did all the yammering on the playoff scenario. So why don't you take it and run, bro?
All right. So who's back? Terrion missed Thursday's practice. We're a day off because it's Monday Night Football, so we don't have the final injury report. They're actually at practice right now. We get that update. I think it's at 4:00 today. I think they keep congruent with that.
Dr. Liao did a video. Sorry, Dr. Liao dropped a video yesterday night on the Lions injuries updates. Yes. Definitely worth watching when you want to understand the depth, the return. He doesn't look forward. He's funny as hell. Dr. Liao is absolutely fantastic, man. It's always unexpected too. I mean, it's a slip hook. You don't see it coming at all.
You don't.
He's fantastic, and you want the real depth and insight around the injuries. He's the guy. New video. It's up on our YouTube channel right now, and then as a podcast. Sorry, Riz. I just want to give Dr. Liao some love.
No, that's fine. He deserves the credit, and he's certainly someone you should listen to more than me on this. So go watch his video as soon as this is done. It'll make your day. So there's Jalen Reeves-Maybin and Khalif Raymond have had their clocks started. It doesn't sound like Leaf is playing this week, and Dan kind of made that pretty clear. Reeves-Maybin, we'll find out at the injury status window today. He has been practicing. I do know that. I haven't been there, but I know that he was a full participant. So it's like probably pretty close that he's going to be back.
Yeah.
Now, he has more implication on special teams than he does on defense, although the way that they let Quan Alexander go, it's kind of an indication that they think he's going to be back. So Graham Glasgow is back. He's back from his knee injury. Just to rewind real quick on that, Christian Mahogany played his butt off at left guard against Chicago.
Absolutely.
This is a guy who...
so good.
When we talked to him, I talked to him at the Senior Bowl a little bit, and I also talked to him at the draft, and there was one of the questions that came up for him a lot was like, you can only play right guard, and he's like, I was saying that, and he proved it. So it'll be great to have Graham back. Hopefully Graham is healthy, because when he's not healthy, he's not good, to be blunt. Russ Brown did a great expose on that, about how he just doesn't have the fire off of the line, doesn't have the range that you need him to have as a zone blocker, and Mahogany did, and it showed.
We saw the same thing in the first couple games with Decker this year. It's not just a Glasgow thing. When you're an offensive lineman and you're playing injured, you're out there every single offensive snap, twisting, rotating, moving in really awkward and weird ways for an entirety of a game. The athleticism that these big guys have is so underrated by so many people. And to play injured doesn't like I don't want it to make it a character implication against Glasgow, because it's not what it is. It's so hard to play in the pits like that when you have an injury and you're trying to cheat against the injury and protect yourself while the other team knows you're injured too, and they start seeing where they can beat you, and they get that feel in the game, and then they start baiting you and beating you, and there's a chess match going on every single play. It's hard for those guys to play injured. So again, I don't want to knock on Glasgow, and to see Mahogany come out under live fire in his first game and do that, fantastic. Love another Brad Holmes home run in the making, it looks like. But I would also say Mahogany isn't taking Glasgow's role this year. That's not what's happening. No. Don't think that he's the replacement. But just again, I had a tweet about this. We've seen. What we're seeing is today in Glasgow, and what we're seeing is tomorrow with Mahogany, right? We're seeing the future, and this is how this team is continually built. They have guys that are older, guys that are in their prime, and guys that are young that are developing, and you're seeing this conveyor belt of talent working. And when we go through these injury depth situations, and when you see like Mahogany step in like this and see what they do, you can see how well we are at developing this young talent. And it's one of those things that just gives you such hope for the longevity of what this team is building and what they can be, and how you can build a team to stay good for the long haul. by not mortgaging the future. The last thing I want to say is I know a lot of people wanted Max Crosby. If we'd have traded the farm and he'd have come here and got injured like he did, imagine the crappy state we would be in for next year as well. Don't sell the farm.
We got the better
That's
player
the move,
for
man.
2024. Zadarius Smith has been a better player in 2024 than Max Crosby since that trade deadline. Now, obviously, that's because Max is hurt.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my God. Could you imagine giving away 2 first-round picks for a guy who played? I think he played 6 quarters after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Got 1 sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me really quick. Riz, you nailed the mahogany pick.
That's a Jerry Jones move.
Riz, you nailed the mahogany pick. You hit him way up the board. We got to hit the the James Houston Memorial horn. Got to give it credit where it's due. Yeah. All right. Sorry. I didn't want to.
Mahogany will be starting next year.
Yep.
Next year.
So
I know there's a lot of people like, we got to re-sign Kevin Zeitler. I'm like, the whispers behind the scenes are that if we win a Super Bowl, Zeitler's retiring on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise anyone who knows him.
All right, so we the mahogany talk. Look, the wood that mahogany gave us had to sideline the discussion on injuries, but let's go on. Let's try to get some of the blood back into the brain and start talking about the other stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God, he was so good though. Who else has heard? Branch is going to be okay. For this week specifically, we're looking good to play San Francisco, and they're not. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You talk about offensive line plans. One stat that flew out at my face today, I got this from Kyle Madsen, who's the Niners wire writer, my colleague from San Francisco. They have drafted 26 offensive linemen there since 2009. 1 has signed a second contract in San Francisco. 1.
Man, oh man.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, yeah.
They are on offensive tackles 7 and 8 this week.
Man, oh man.
Good time for Zadarius Smith to eat, but I digress. He's healthy. We saw Pascal came back, made an impact, pounced on Rome Odunze's issue. So this week they're looking good. As far as like long-term, Anzalone should be back for the first playoff game. I don't think he's going to be back for week 18. I don't think Dr. Liao does either. Who else is hurt? I'm racking my brain. I don't have a list in front of me. Who else could be coming back? Carlton Davis, maybe Super Bowl. Maybe. I don't know. Broken jaw is tough because your jaw is wired shut. Like, you can't eat. You got to, like, suck everything through a straw. It's painful as hell to go through that. And, like, there's just some loss there.
Yeah.
What else is there? Montgomery. Oh, Montgomery. So this is one where I would definitely advise you to watch Dr. Liao on it.
Yeah.
It's an MCL sprain is the right word. Strain too. But I think he can be back for the first playoff game, but it's much more likely to be back for the NFC Championship game. And wouldn't that be nice to have him when you're playing Minnesota or Green Bay? Who I do think are it wouldn't shock me at all if it was an NFC North, NFC Championship game, whether it's Green Bay or Minnesota. And by the way, they could very well have to play in the second round of the playoffs in the divisional round, which would be interesting.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
That game would be in Minnesota too.
I'd want them both to win in the first or lose in the first round, to be entirely honest. But I also don't want to face the Rams. I'm more concerned about who I don't want to face right now than I do. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. We've played a first place schedule all season. Yeah. You've got to beat the teams to get there, and we've beat the teams. I think our record against over 500 teams is pretty phenomenal. Whereas I think it's like 1 win for the Vikings or something silly like that. I mean, we have played a hard schedule. We are a hard team, and I think this team will not back away from anybody. I want the easiest path through the Super Bowl. I really do. Like, people say, "Oh, I don't want to play them when they're injured. I want to beat them at their best." I want to beat them. I don't care how. That's it. We can start talking about, oh, well, they weren't up to speed. That's the only reason you won. Yep, We weren't up to speed either.
I don't care.
Nope.
I want the wins, man.
Nope.
I've waited long enough.
Yep, exactly.
Give it to me.
Yep. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this. I don't. The rest of it, who cares? After we get a Super Bowl, if you want to start talking about pride and beating them at their toughest and that kind of thing, great. Okay, we'll talk about that. But we played a number 1 seed schedule this year, and we crushed it. That's good enough for me. That's all the pride I need in the wins that we got as a team. So
they don't give style points; they give trophies.
Yeah, and
I want a trophy.
in 2 years ago, you think about the Super Bowl. Who was injured on the losing team? You don't know. Nobody cares. The record book's the record books, right? And that's that. So.
Chris made a point. He caught me. Well done, sir. Good job.
Oh, man.
Blind and Seeker for that one.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right. Anything else?
Good point.
Anything else on the injury front, my friend?
We're getting. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else that could be coming back. Leaf. Yeah, you're going to see him probably next week.
Yeah,
sounds like. One of the things that has recalibrated things was that they activated Iffy before his 21st day. Like every other player that has ever been activated off of injured reserve by this regime, they waited until the 21st day to do it.
Yeah,
they got Iffy back out there. He was ready. Thank God. It was a little ominous when Dan Campbell's like, "Well, we got to get his legs under him." I'm like, he's been out with a hand injury. What's wrong with his legs and conditioning? But it turned out that was just Dan motivating him a little bit.
Yeah.
That is what happened there. And it worked. So the fact that guys could come back earlier in their window than what we expect is a new dimension to this team. It would be like, let's say Terry Arnold is listed as doubtful for this week. That's not going to happen. Let's play along. And then he plays. Like, no player who's been doubtful has ever played under Dan Campbell. They've always been inactive. That would be that big of a sea change. And it was something like that I talked to a couple of different Lions guys who were in the building there, and they're like, yeah, that was different. Like, it caught us off guard too. Like, we weren't expecting him to be back that fast. Yeah. So it has changed the dynamics of injury expectations, and that's good.
Yeah.
It's nice that they're not like that super rigid with it. Like, we're going to use all 21 days no matter what. Like, it's nice that you take every individual case on its own. It's important to do those things. Mm-hmm. Learn from your experiences. My God, it sounds like a well-run organization, Chris.
It'd never be a well-run organization unless the Ford sell the team. Haven't you heard? Uncle Eddie said so. All right. Let's get to the next topic. And it comes with Joseph Austin. This game is one of the Circle Revenge games, 37-13 Lions. San Francisco 49ers versus the Detroit Lions game preview. This is a revenge game. It is a completely different game than we thought it would be.
Yes.
When we saw the schedule release or when the season started. Holy cow. These 49ers are not even in the
Niners
playoffs. Yep, sure. But this goes to the point we touched on it when we were talking about the potential coaching changes earlier, and Campbell last year saying, look, I don't know if we can get back, and they've outdone it. The 49ers are the cautionary tale in the other direction. We thought we'd be battling the Niners in the NFC Championship game again, because against everything else, they were the team to beat. And injury bug, holy cow. I mean, This is a difference. John Lynch is a GM. He was a darling for a long time and has been, and people were surprised. I was surprised by how he was able to build that team. He is able to put together a number of fantastic starters, but it hasn't held with injury and with the depth you need to run the gauntlet of a long season.
Chris, they're punters on IR. I didn't even know that.
Well, you're looking at
Krasnovsky's on, like, their top 3 running backs are all on injured reserve. Their top 5 offensive tackles are out. That includes, what's his name? Where's he at? Spencer Burford who would be the number 3 left tackle, who would be thrust into the starting role because number 1 and 2 are out. Trent Williams is done. He's also out. So their starting tackles for this game could very well be Charlie Heck and Austin Pleasance. Charlie Heck was on the Cardinals practice squad last Thursday. Austin Pleasance was on the 49ers practice squad for the last 2 weeks, but before that, he was unemployed.
Yeah.
Now I know Austin Pleasance. He played at Ohio. My Bobcats was a guy that I actually thought that the Lions would have some interest in because he's kind of a mobile guy, but it hasn't been there for him. This is his 3rd season. I want to say 2nd or 3rd season. Yeah, you're dealing with serious, like Christian McCaffrey's out, Jordan Mason's out. Isaac Guerrero might not play. He's their number 4 running back. Very impressive physical rookie out of Rutgers or Louisville. Sorry, played at Rutgers too. Yeah. There's just they have not been able to adapt and overcome to all of their injuries anywhere close to as well as the Lions do, and that is why Dan Campbell deserves to be freaking Coach of the Year. I don't care that Kevin O'Connell has done wonders with the Minnesota team. He's done a great job. I don't care that John Harbaugh both Harbaugh brothers actually probably should be deserving candidates for Coach of the Year. Sean Payton turning Bo Nix into the offensive, what he is, and Dan Quinn in Washington is. Dan Campbell's the freaking Coach of the Year, man, because look at all the people that have been lost to this team, and they're still the best team in the NFC, probably the NFL. That's coaching, man. I know there's a lot of talent on this team. It is difficult to coach a good football team. It's different than coaching a bad football team. We saw this with Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz was phenomenal to coach a team that had been winless. Yeah. 9-7 team, 10-6 team. He couldn't do it. Yeah. Couldn't get them over that next hump. Jim Caldwell couldn't coach a good team. He'll get them to where their destiny was. They will lose to every team that's better than them, and they will beat every team that's worse than them. And I know that's technically what happens in every game, but you get the point. If a team's favored against the Lions with Jim Caldwell, they're going to beat them. Yep. If we're favored against them, Jim Caldwell was going to beat them. Yep. None of that crap with Dan Campbell. It doesn't matter who's on the team. Next man up. Next man up. They're still getting it done. And by the way, I do vote for Coach of the Year. You will have my vote. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. All right. So there you go. That's the injury look at the Niners. I saw 40 Gumbo. They also have defensive injuries too, but we're not concerned about their defense all that much anyways.
49ers have had less overall injuries, but they're all key star players for them who are out. It's rough, pretty unlucky. Yeah, our running back's out. Our Monty is out. I mean, Hutchinson, our number 1 rusher, is out. Anzalone is out. Aleem is out. I mean, we've got key players out too. It's just the absolute depth that we've been able to pull in, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I think their biggest issue is that their entire offensive identity is running the football with their Shanahan zone scheme, and they've lost their top 3 running backs, and they've lost their they have 8 linemen on IR, and they have 2 more that are supposed to be they're number 1 on the depth chart, and they're not going to play this week.
Detroit Fan Man says a different national guy said MCDC wouldn't win Coach of the Year now because the award is for guys who elevate teams. The Lions are already dominant. What timeline is this? You can't tell me he hasn't elevated this team. I mean, when Dayball got it, it was what? And then they stagnated and crashed, right? And then I forget who got it after that. Campbell is the straight out favorite for the role this year. I can see someone who said it. Jay-Z, winner of Week 18 game will be Coach of the Year. I could see that happening, but I think it's plausible. I think it's Campbell's to lose, to be honest with you, just because of how he has elevated this team from the injuries in particular that they have. I mean, Minnesota is playing with their team effectively, other than J.J. McCarthy, who was a rookie and love Michigan and all that, but you don't know what he is yet. You don't know who he is, or you can't even think about what he is in the NFL until you see him. So I don't even think you can weigh that as.
You want to give Minnesota award? Sam Darnold, comeback player of the year.
There you go.
Give it to him.
Yeah,
he deserves it. He earned
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for sure. So there you go. Okay. What do we need to
By the
look
way,
for?
last year's coach of the year was Kevin Stefanski. There's a small but growing chance that he's going to get fired. I don't think that's going to happen, but there are people in Cleveland who would love to throw him in Lake Erie right now.
All right, let's talk. We gotta ask once per show. Please subscribe, help others find the show. But do smash that like button while you're there. It helps kind of elevate the show for other people. And please subscribe. It also helps us get figured out by the algorithm and helped out. So thank you for that. All right, let's talk about these San Francisco 49ers. What are some of the key matchups, Riz? What are we looking at that may be real kind of game definers?
Okay. So what do they still have as assets? Brock Purdy can still throw a damn good deep ball. If you don't believe that after what he did in the NFC, and I know bounce off field doors, he threw a lot of really nice downfield passes in that. He still leads the NFL over the last 2 years in completion percentage on throws of 20 yards or more. He's good at it. We're pretty good about defending the deep pass. But as much as we like to dog on them not having, their full complement of weapons, they still find guys that can get downfield and get open. Like they do. It's weird, but they do. So it's going to be, the pass rush is going to have to be impactful. It doesn't mean sacks. It means pressuring. It means moving him off of his point and keeping him from delivering the ball when he wants to get rid of it, from where he wants to get rid of it. That is the entire point of Aaron Glenn's defense. They did great against Caleb Williams. When they didn't was when they got the touchdown play that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
They couldn't do that against Josh Allen at all. And Purdy does have some ability to run. We saw that last year. People want to dog on him. He is not worth Jared Goff money. He's going to get Jared Goff money. But he's not a bad player.
Yeah.
Y'all might want to move on from that. But I do still I have concerns that he's going to throw the ball down the field and Terrion Arnold is not going to locate the ball and we're going to get a pass interference penalty and they'll get a quick touchdown off of it. But then that's where the Lions offense comes in and they still have linebackers. They still have something of a secondary that's dangerous. They are good at extracting the football from players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not all that worried about it. I think this is a game.
This is made for Jared Goff's mindset. His always keep it safe mindset, right?
Yes. Death by paper cut.
Yeah, 100%. And that's how you beat an offense like this. I'll tell you on the other side though, they're deep ball and love for the deep ball. 3 bets I'm making this week, and one hitting will clear the cost of all 3. Terrion Arnold interception, Brian Branch interception, and Kirby Joseph interception. I think all 3 of those are good.
I like Kirby a lot.
Yeah.
I like Kirby a lot in this one.
And I think Branch's role is going to be a lot more center fieldy this time than it is going to be up in people's faces and run stopping. I really think it is. Now we'll see. It depends how the game goes, but I think they're going to be looking for the picks this game. And it's been a while. I mean, we've been able, like against the Bears, to recover some fumbles. The picks haven't been there, so I have a feeling we're overdue, right? But this is a team that we can absolutely pull that ball out of the air on. So
yeah, so I'm thinking, and I don't think that what happens on Sunday afternoon between Green Bay and Minnesota has any impact at all on what happens to the Lions in this game. I don't. I'm gonna listen to my head coach and believe him when he tells me that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You want to disagree with it? Take it up with Dan Campbell. I think they're going to come out and they are so much the better team in this game, even if it doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't really mean anything at all anyways. So
just win, baby.
I think
just win, baby.
I think this could be a week where Jack Fox only sees the field as a holder.
His highlights are on his knees.
Yes. The Tracy Lords videos.
All right. Riz, why don't you put together a number? What do you think the score looks like after this game here?
I'm going to go 36-16.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to go
Where
big.
are you at?
I'm going to go big. 42-17.
All right.
I know it's a big number. I really think a la Dallas, Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, this Detroit Lions team, they're not letting up. They're going balls deep on a hurting 49ers team, and they're just going to pummel them. And at halftime, when we're up 21-3, they're going to say, don't forget, NFC Championship game. What was it, 24-3 or whatever? We went in at halftime, whatever it was.
Right.
Don't forget, foot on the gas. That's what I think this Lions team is going to do, and roll into Minnesota hot next week. Mark my words. After a shitey officiating in this Minnesota,
it can make a statement too that, like, okay, we're back, baby. Like, we're getting these dudes healthy. We're coming at you. We're peaking at the right time. This is not a situation where we were the best team in November, but can't be the best team in January. The way that Baltimore winds up being a lot. Pittsburgh wound up being that a couple years ago. Philadelphia was that last year. They were the best team in the league until Thanksgiving. After that, they weren't one of the 10 best. They were one of the 10 worst.
They weren't even a team.
They won one more game.
Yeah.
That's not where this team is at. And I think that Dan Campbell has a very acute sense of how to coach his team in that manner. And I think that some of that is, we're going to show the world on national television that we own the NFC. You got to come. Welcome to Detroit, baby.
I got to give Frosty some love in the chat. He's like, that bum Jack Fox has hardly played this year. Hasn't even earned his pay. Oh, man. What are you going to do?
A good year.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Golden age of NFL punting, and he's amongst the golden ones.
Yep. All right, there's that. I want to really quick just thank everybody. I know our schedule this year's been tough. A lot of people have been really kind to us about supporting and being out there when the Lions were in lean years. I mean, we're a decade into doing this now, and we love it. Just want to thank you all for sticking with us this year, because of real life being really hard to juggle the shows and do the shows that we want to between Jeff and me and our schedules by the travel and stuff. I mean, I've talked about it. I spent literally a third of the year in a bed that isn't in my house just because of travel this year. It was bananas, and it was hard to make this work, but been able to schedule things to help keep the show, and you folks sticking with us, man. It means a lot. It really does. And we appreciate you for hanging out with us in the podcast and doing the thing. So, also I want to talk, Riz and I were just talking about Senior Bowl credentials are in. We're going to go, we've got the Senior Bowl coverage coming for you. We're going to have, I think last year we interviewed 15 players. I would expect that to top 20 this year. We're continuing to work on that. We've got a lot of stuff, in the pipe already. So, hold on tight, because it's going to be a wild ride, and there's going to be a ton that comes down. Senior Bowl, we'll have coverage there, and it's hard because so many years we've already been like into the third or fourth round of the draft by now, and here we are. We haven't even really talked about it. In this, it's harder for us because now we've really got to start diving in on this. I mean, you do Draft Wire, Riz, which is good and helpful to keep your toe in and paying attention to it, but I've really got to dive in this year. It feels like even more than last year, because I watched less college ball this year than I have with everything else going on. We've got a lot of work to do, but we will give you your draft coverage as well, all the way up to and including the draft and post-draft action. And we've got you folks. We're
going to lean on Bish and Brown for more draft content this year too. They are certainly bringing it. From a Lions Wire perspective, Billy Rossetti is doing a lot of work for me on that, sort of pointing out guys. And he will be in Mobile. Hopefully we can get him on and in. He's his guy that's been around the league a lot, has covered a lot of different teams, which is good perspective. One of the things that I'm working on, I have become good friends with an agent who has two players that are going to be at the Senior Bowl, and I'm going to try to get him to come on and get his perspective on what it's like to be have a client who's recruited by the Lions, because he does have someone that I think that the Lions, I think he was on the practice squad. I don't know. I'll have to check with him on it, but I would love to get his perspective from an agent side of view of what the Lions look like and why they are appealing, or why they wouldn't be. Like, I don't know. It would be. I'm working on that one, so hopefully we'll get him in.
Awesome.
Great. Hopefully we get another guy like Xavier Legette. That guy was incredible. Did you see what he did?
The coon?
He brought leftover raccoon to the Panthers locker room the day after Christmas. And like, after talking to him for like 15, 20 minutes, we're probably both like, yeah, all right. I see that.
He was so
incredible.
Fantastic to talk to.
Incredible.
I remember when we talked to him, it was like 6:30 in the morning. We were already
very early in the morning.
I mean, we were like half a cup of coffee and just starting, and he's got that so slow Southern thing going on, and we're trying to amp up. And I remember going, I'm dying here. But then, like, when you hear it, it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's so much more to this than just like a slow kind of. It's fantastic. I absolutely loved it. You know who he reminds me of?
Too.
You know who he reminds me of? His speech patterns and his accent. It very much reminds me of Lomas, like an unpracticed Lomas. That same kind of like, oh wow, like I could just hear it in there.
Bless Lomas. Lomas, by the way, got shafted on the Hall of Fame vote once again.
Yeah,
that's something that we need to take up. Dave Burkett is our rep who represents the Lions and presents the players for the Hall of Fame. And I know Dave does a lot of homework and does a good job with it. We got to get Lomas and Herman both get criminally overlooked, probably because of where they played and when they played there. And that's very unfortunate. Lomas is a Hall of Fame talent. I think Herman more, I've said it before, I've told Herman himself, and he agreed with me. We did on the St. Jude's telethon a couple of years ago. His 3-year peak is as good as any 3 years any wide receiver ever has put up. That deserves to be recognized. So we're with you, Herman.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so there it is. San Francisco set to be beaten by the Detroit Lions. This is the revenge game. They really don't have a whole lot to play for either, which kind of it helps.
The Lions fan takeover is happening. Just judging on some of the people that I know in various groups and chats, and like, you're getting tickets, pretty good tickets in San Francisco, which is a brand new stadium, for $200. And a lot of Lions fans are going out there for the holiday and taking advantage. So
man, we had the offer. I got a Dr. McGonigal. Love you, brother. Love you here. We had the offer for the crew at DLP for near sideline tickets for the 49ers game, and nobody could get out there to do it. Really appreciate the offer, man. That's kind of you. Would have loved to have been at that game, but the other thing is too that makes it hard. As much as I would like to do that, I'm wary of not doing a post game show. the streak is 100% through 14 games. They said it. They've blamed me for the loss against the Bills. I accept it. I'm with you. I understand, and I apologize, but I want to see a game too. So plus I had to be there anyway. So either way, that's that. So we'll be having a post game show Monday night after the Niners game, and then so folks know, I actually have juggled my back to work travel week around being able to cover and do a show for the Minnesota game. That's how bought in I am to this whole thing, man. And
dedication.
I'm going to have like 4 hours or less of sleep that night because of it, and have to go back to work after a break. Like, I'm going to be so red eyed. They're going to say, what in the hell happened? Why did you not relax over your week off? Like, what's going on? But it has to be done. It has to be done. So join us for that, and appreciate everyone who joins us for the post game show. Genuinely love all you folks, man. You guys are awesome. No, Rob, you better not miss the playoffs, Chris. We are already planning today about how we're going to set up our travel for Senior Bowl. We were talking before we were here
about how we're going to handle that.
Yeah. So that we can be sure to do a post game show for Senior Bowl, because we don't know if it's going to be a Saturday game or a Sunday game. We got to get it's. Man, it's awesome. It's awesome. So, all right, y'all. Thank you all. Love you. Thanks for joining us. Riz, thank you. I'm happy we were able to put a show together this week ahead of the Niners game. A lot of fun stuff coming for the Lions and Lions fans. And don't forget, you can get access to the Patreon chat or the Slack chat, which is the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet with Riz and me and Dr. Liao and Bish and Brown and Ash and everybody. Go to patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast. $5 or more a month in the donation. That gets you into the Slack chat. If you can still do less than $5 if you want to support the show, and it really does help us and help us keep everything going and fund all the stuff that we do and fund the people, because it's the one thing we do is pay our people, like most places don't. Everybody that contributes for us gets paid. So that's how we want it. We want to be above board with our folks. So join the Patreon that helps us do all that and be a quality show with quality morals and approach. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. At Blue Sky is the same. At Threads, it's the same. It's, I think, Detroit Lions Podcast actually on Threads and Insta, but find us, we're there. At Jeff Risden and J Riz. What's the Blue Sky one, Riz?
Jeff.Riz, R-I-Z-Z.
Jeff.Riz at the Blue Sky. Also, be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Subscribe to the podcast. What happens?
I get to come into your ear holes automagically. Yeah.
Automagically. Stoner's perspective new. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Detroit Lions podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, and no problems, because we are a playoff team and we are your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. Love you all. Happy holidays. We'll see you soon.